5 minutes to go. Bautista, Ray, Razgatlioglu, Gerloff and Lowe's in the top 5 positions. I think we might be able to get a line from pit lane.
Yes, thanks, Alex. It does seem that the majority of the teams have been using the middle part of this session to do a simulation run on the new purple tyre, the SCQ. So effectively a simulation of that Superpole race coming up later on in the weekend. The ideal opportunity for them to do so, and the team's being taken opportunity to run a simulation of that shorter sprint race.
Yeah, so as we largely anticipated, the riders just trying to gain, and of course in conjunction with crew chiefs and teams, just trying to gauge whether that will end up being the right choice to try and stretch out a little bit more. Of course, if it does work, then that means it's a softer option for them, and therefore a little bit of extra performance perhaps.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dave, because the big thing for these riders is to understand, is it going to be faster for 10 laps? It might be faster for a lap or two, but is it going to give them enough performance over the course of the 10-lap race? Speaking to a lot of riders during the course of testing for this tyre, they didn't see a benefit. They didn't see that big step that they needed to make because the conditions weren't right for it. It was a lot cooler during the course of winter tests. We do have a bit of cloud cover now here in Aragon, but we are still 20 degrees air temperature, in the 30s for the track temperature. So it's in and around the right kind of window to be able to try that tyre, see if it gives you a benefit. I think over the course of this weekend, I'd be surprised if a lot of guys take a gamble because they know what the X tyre can do. But the X tyre is a little bit harder than the one that was usually used last year. So it is going to be interesting to see where everyone stacks up with it.
3.5 minutes remaining in free practice 2. Whether there'll be any flying laps at the end of the session here remains to be seen. A couple of riders further down the order set to improve on their latest lap, but none of the front runners as things stand.
Yeah, you saw there the Honda crew chief Pete Jennings, and Pete's got a lot of experience coming across from having worked with Chaz Davis last year. He's worked with BMW in recent years with Tom Sykes, so he's going to bring with him a wealth of experience for Honda. He's got a real fast, talented young rider as well to try and mould, so I'm sure PJ's really excited to get the start of this project and get his teeth into this season.
Well, if we get to the end of this session unchanged, FP2, the top 3, who we expect to be the main World Championship contenders, are separated by 1/10 of a second. There's your Friday headline, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and obviously enough, it's been the Bautista, Ray, Razgatlioglu order for this session, but overall it is still Ray from Bautista, Razgatlioglu, and certainly these are the 3 guys that are going to be thereabouts all the way through the season. It's about who's going to make the step to go with them as well. And that's where Garrett Gerloff, he's up 4th in this session, 4th in the combined times. Can he be the Garrett Gerloff that everyone wants to see? The guy that's right at the front of the field, battling with everyone. We're into a new season. It's a fresh start for Gerloff. He really looks like he's taken a very different approach into this season.
Of course, the only thing that the journalists will be disappointed about that top 3 is that Bautista's name doesn't begin with R. Somewhat less helpful than 2021 when this man, Scott Redding, joined the fray along with Ray and Razgatlioglu. And they were a top 3 that very much broke away from the rest of the pack. Said it previously, 270 points between 3rd and 4th positions in the final pecking order. A very different task on the hands of Scott Redding. It's been a quiet day for him so far. He's down in 14th in this session. Just set a new personal best, 151.1. That's 1.5 seconds slower than Alvaro Bautista. And that, remember, is the man who replaced him on the Ducati for 2022.
Yeah, and that's going to be what's going to be galling about it for Scott Redding at this stage. 14th this session, 16th on the combined times. That's not what he wants to see on that factory BMW, but you also have to look at what the expectation is coming into the season for him as well. He needs to adapt to this bike. Very different configuration compared to what he's used to from his Grand Prix days, from his days with Ducati on the V4R project as well. So it is going to be a bit of a learning process for him, but he wouldn't have thought it was going to be quite this hard this early in the season. But certainly for Redding, it's about regrouping. It's about getting the most you can every time you're out there and trying to just bring this project forward. Certainly for Scott Redding, he looks fitter than ever. He looks like he's really been working hard over the winter, as all of these guys have. And for Scott Redding, he's doing his best to leave no stone unturned. Now it's up to BMW to prove, having made this big investment, that they were able to get to the front.
Yes, Reading hasn't been shy of doing a little bit of racing during the winter, but it's been pedal power as opposed to motor power. 15 seconds on the clock remaining here in free practice 2. I don't think any of the leaders are going to improve. Laverty at the moment showing decent pace. A new personal best over his last couple of laps, a 150.945 their last time around for 13th position in this session. That's 15th on the combined times. The checkered flag has fallen. Michael Ruben Rinaldi had already come into the pit, so it's the end of the session for him. Toprak Razgatlioglu actually just making his way back out, but won't get another flying lap in, so that's just going to be for a practice start you'd expect for Razgatlioglu. It's going to be a late flying lap effort here from Luca Myers. He's down in 19th position at the moment, hasn't been able to improve on what he did earlier on today, but he might well be able to make some progress from 19th position in the closing stages of this FP2. The other rider to watch out for here is Alex Lowes, heading into the second half of his final lap. He is making his way through towards the end of Sector 3 now. This is Myers coming through the final 2 turns. Myers, remember, 19th place as things stand. Could make up 3 or 4 positions here. He comes across the line, and not quite as many as that. It's 18th position, 151.2, and still over a tenth of a second slower than he went in FP1 earlier on today. Low still on a good lap though. Real chance of him improving from 5th position if he can hook it up nicely through the final sector. He's off turn 17 for the final time. He's got to think the Barney Ducati directly in front of him as he comes to the finish of the session, and he loses a little bit of time coming off the final corner. 150.091, 150.010, his fastest time of FP2. So very much in the ballpark and within a tenth of a second of that fastest time in this session. So the checkered flag falls, as you can see. It's Alvaro Bautista who is the fastest man in FP2, but a tenth of a second covering him, Ray and Razgatlioglu, which sets us up more than perfectly for race day here in Motorland Aragon tomorrow.